Recording in progress.
So we left off on the bottom of the fourth page of the Maimer, page Kufnun Tes, and we were speaking about the two levels of Chotzer, which is a place for animals. So there's a roofed in Chotzer and a non-roofed in Chotzer. Non-roofed in Chotzer is for the lowest level, the Nefesh Bahamis itself. The roofed in Chotzer, that's level for the Nefesh Hasichlis. But those are both Klippas Noiga. So therefore, the corresponding worlds and the corresponding avodah with them is Bittul Hayesh. And that is applicable in the worlds of Asiya and Yitzira. And then we can explain how they are also the two levels of Nefesh Elokis. The way the Nefesh Elokis comes down and is enclosed in the Nefesh Bahamis, and the way the Nefesh Elokis is on its own. So these two different levels of the Nefesh Elokis, this is the level of your house and your chamber, that are both levels of where a human being lives, not like the courtyard that is designated for animals, but rather has to do with Adam El Elyon, a person who is similar to above. And we explained yesterday the demarcation line that Asiya and Yitzira is called Bittul Hayesh, and Bria and Atzilus is Bittul B'Metzias. So based on what we were saying yesterday about the level of Yitzira being Bittul Hayesh, so now 3 lines from the bottom of the page on Ois Hey, this is the idea that Yitzira is the dwelling place where Malachim live. Malachim's avodah is similar to an animal. Malachim are called by the names animals. They're called Chayis HaKodesh, the holy beast. There's the animals in the Merkava Elyoina. Why? Because just like an animal has like instinctive emotions, and that's what it operates on, so to the Malachim, their avodah is with innate and natural awe and love of Hashem. So therefore, it is their ego is the way they are serving Hashem. Bria, whom modern neshamas hatzadikim, and Bria is the place that the residence of the neshamas of tzadikim, shavidosam hoisa betchilu v'chimul sichlim. Those tzadikim, that their avodah was with an intellectual awe and love, which is the distinction between a human being and an animal. The level of Adam, as opposed to the level of animal, that begins from the world of Bria. And not only that, but there's also some malachim that fall into this category as well. Also the malachim, that their avodah is with an intellectual awe and love of Hashem. Their location of these malachim are also in the world of Bria. How come? What does this have to do with how we explained over here about Bittul Hayesh versus Bittul B'Metzias? So we were speaking about before that the idea of Bittul Hayesh is it's coming out of the very nature and the being of the creation. It's not godliness itself, it's the person's innate recognition, or the malach's innate recognition of Hashem. So he says on the top of the next page, because the natural, innate, instinctive awe and love of Hashem, you're calling that instinctive. This is the nature. This is who the creation is. So in other words, it's part of his self as a created being. So it's not yet completely one with godliness. There is a yesh over here, that this yesh has a bittul for Hashem. That the level of the intellectual awe and love of Hashem, the love and awe are not coming because of his nature and who he is. Because of the godly topic that he comprehended, mechayiv shetzarich lahav es Hashem v'lira menu. It like forces the person. In other words, the person has to go out of himself and recognize something other than himself, and because of that recognition that intellect brings to him, so that's how he comes to love and fear and be in awe of Hashem. This is all in Bria. Bria is the world of the Chilu v'Rechimu Sichlim. So on the one hand, it's a level of Adam, it's not a level of animal, it's not instinctive, and it's a level of Bittul b'Metzias, because it's not, I'm coming to it from my Metzias, but it's actually something outside of me is making me Batul. Became still in all, since Bria is the world of comprehension, of grasping and understanding godliness, as we say that the level of Hey of Yud Kei Vav Kei Bina, the world of Bina is, in other words, Bina D'Atzilus shines in Bria, because Bria is a level of a perception, understanding of godliness. And how does the creations of Bria have their bittul, or in what way do they manifest their bittul? Because the seichel, the intellect, forces him that when it comes to godliness, there is no room for any existence. Aray, gam ha-bittul hu-metzias. So therefore, even the bittul that one has from the intellectual understanding of Hashem, it's still a metzias. It's still something that is intellectually based. So that intellectually based bittul makes it a metzias, makes it something that forces him to have this type of level of existence. So there's this like type of tension between yesh and metzias. On the one hand, I'm going out of my yeshes because it's not innate, it's something outside of me. On the other hand, I'm being forced like to say this, so this is intellectually forced. So therefore, the bittul still has metzias because there is something that has to be nizvatel over here. But the true idea of bittul metzias is in the world of Atzilus. That the bittul of Atzilus is not because of intellectual comprehension. It's not that I reach it intellectually, understand how great and how awesome Hashem is. The perception of Atzilus is a Chachma perception. As we know that Chachma is Mekanana B'Krasaya, that is what Nes in the, B'Atzilus, that's what Nes in Atzilus, and we know Chachma is total bit. The idea of Chachma is the appreciation that there's nothing besides Hashem. And that is a complete nullification of the Metzias. If you remember, we said that the difference in Atzilus and Bria is that Bria is a Sharis HaMetzias, it's a possibility and potential for existence, and Atzilus is Afisas HaMetzias, the negation of existence. Therefore, because Atzilus is completely godliness, there is no like, well, I intellectually realize, etc. No, it is Milchatchilat entirely godliness. Therefore, in the world of Atzilus, the whole idea of Malachim does not apply over there. Even the level of the higher level of Malachim, the intellectual Malachim, and that do not serve him because of an innate animal instinct. And even the tzaddikim that reside in Atzilus, it is only a home, a residence for great tzaddikim that were in a level of being a divine chariot, beyond intellect, bittul v'metzias. In other words, there's three levels of Gan Eden, or levels where where people can reach. Regular Avaviyira reaches the level of, or the innate love, that causes the neshama to reach to the world of Yitzira. The world of Yitzira is the world of emotions, the midas of Atzilus shine over there. An intellectually based love, that's already tzaddikim, greater tzaddikim, that have a greater type of form of love and awe of Hashem. And then the world of Atzilus is a place where for tzaddikim, that their avodah is not an avodah of love and awe that is intuitive, or love and awe that's created via intellect, but it's such tzaddikim that they're entirely bittul b'metzias, they're entirely like a divine chariot that has no will of its own whatsoever. They are entirely just an extension of Hashem. It's not the Rebbe challenges this. How can you say Atzilus is entirely bottled, that there's nothing else but godliness over there? Vagam shagam ba'Atzilus yesh eser sfiras. Though also in Atzilus there's a 10 sfiras, which is seichel and midas. It's intellect and emotions. So again, it's seemingly an avodah that's intellectually based, and an avodah that's based on emotions. So the Rebbe right away says, Harei sfiras d'Atzilus einu metzias la'atzmam klal. The sfiras of Atzilus are not a separate entity for themselves whatsoever. How come? Like we're going to say today in Paschal Yod, because he and his life forces, meaning the oiris, and he and his bodies, meaning the kalim, meaning the oir himself, is completely one with the seichel and midas. So it's not an intellect that's like outside of the Eibishter that's comprehending the Eibishter. It's not like an emotion outside of the Eibishter that's relating to the Eibishter. It's completely one, like the Eibishter's intellect, the Eibishter's own emotions. It's completely godliness without anything new to it. So okay, let's go on further. Now we're going to come back to what we were talking about concerning in the avodah of a yid down here. This is the idea that these 4 matters in the service of a person. These are similar to the 4 worlds of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzira, Asiyah. The bittul the bittul that the animal soul has, and the bittul that even the intellectual soul has. Shabittul hu davar noisef al metziyusam, that the bittul is like something additional to who they are. While derech habittul da asiyah v'yitzir, it's similar to the bittul of the world of asiyah and yitzir. So now he's going to connect it further with the idea that a courtyard is meant to protect and to not allow the animals to wander off. It's a place for animals to make sure that they don't go where they're not supposed to go. So you have the regular courtyard that's not roofed in. We said it's for regular animals. The roofed in is to make sure that the birds don't fly over the walls. So the Rebbe says, the 3rd line in the 2nd paragraph to add, the reason why the courtyard needs, in other words, the animals in the courtyard needs to be guarded, is because both Asiya and Yitzira are already in existence. Therefore, the matters that descended from them, the Nefesh Bahamis, the Nefesh Sichlis, also need to be guarded, because once there is Metzias, so from Metzias eventually can evolve from that will be something that needs to be controlled and disciplined, or else it'll go wild. The reason why it says your courtyards in the plural, because like we said before, there's 2 types of guardians that you need, or 2 types of guarding that you need. The avodah from the perspective of the world of Asiya, the main thing is about doing the right thing. We're not talking here about emotional things and intellectual things. Like we said, the Min HaTorah thing is do everything right in action. For doing the right things, you don't need to have a roofed-in covering. It's enough if you have just walls containing it. In other words, controlling the nefesh hamis so he doesn't do anything wrong in thought, speech, and deed. But the avoida from the world of Yitzira. We know Yitzira, who ikra midas, is primarily the world of emotions. Both in the spiritual realms, it's the world of emotions, because we're talking about the ava v'yira tivim, the innate love and all. And the way it is down here, it's the level of the emotions that are created through a person's intellect, thanks to the input of the nefesh hasichlis. For this, you need to have the protection of a roof, the roofed-in type of courtyard, like we mentioned earlier in the Maimer, because when you're dealing with the nefesh hasichlis, then it can completely, with its ego and its I'm perceiving this and I'm understanding, it can fly away, and its ego can grow, etc. So we're going from the bottom up. Then there's the level of the intellect and the emotions that are enclosed already in the nefesh habamis. That's already a lower level of the intellect and emotion of the godly soul. The bittul of nefesh halakis is not something additional to them. It's true, it's intellect and emotions, but it's godly intellect and emotions. It's part of nefesh halakis. It's not something additional to them. Like we said yesterday, it's similar to bit layesh because it's still coming from who the person is, from his understanding, from his intellect, and his perception. And then, so therefore, it's bitlo metzias, and it has like bitla yesh. Like we said, the two ways in the footnote. Sometimes bria is called bitlo metzias. Sometimes bria is called bitla yesh. So al derech bitl the bria, that can like be both ways. It's either bitla yesh or bitlo metzias. It's fluid. Va bitlo nefesh halakis atzma. The bitl of nefesh halakis itself. And we said the bittul nefesh halakis itself does not just mean completely divorced from nefesh habamis, but even the part that's concealed in the intellect and the emotions, the way it comes out nefesh habamis. Koil gama bittul, the dargas hanesham hamlubesh nefesh habamis, including also the bittul of those levels of the nefesh halakis that's enclosed in nefesh habamis, but the inner aspect of it, not the external part. The external part is limited, but the inner aspect is already doesn't have those limitations. Shehu bitl v'metzias, that is bitl v'metzias. While derech habitl da'atzilus, that's similar to the bitl of atzilus. And once we explained how all of these things correspond to the four worlds, we'll see about how this fits in with the pasuk and how this has to do with the bris milah. Ois vav, bottom paragraph of the 5th page. That's why, like the Zohar says, initially it starts off the pasuk by what we say by the bris milah, your courtyards, ulabasar beischa. Afterwards, your house, ulabasar heichalecha, and afterwards we talk about the heichal. First, he says chatzerecha in the plural because including two types of levels of courtyards. Chatzer she'eina mekura, not roofed-in courtyard. V'chatzer mekura, and a courtyard that has a roof. U'habirur v'azichuch the nefesh habamis v'nefesh hasichlis. That this is the refinement of both the animal soul, that's the unroofed-in courtyard, and the intellectual soul, which is the roofed-in courtyard. Shegam la'achrei habirur v'azichuch shalahem, even after we refine the nefesh habamis and nefesh hasichlis, in Bedargis Balachayim, there's still animals which are kept outside in the courtyard and need to have that protection. Afterwards, we have your home. That's already the godly soul, the way it becomes revealed and becomes enclosed in the sichlistic soul, in the bahamistic soul. that the bittul of nefesh halakis, the way it's already in contact with the nefesh habahamis, that is similar to the bittul of the world of bria. V'nikra bayis, it's called a home. Just like a home is a place where a person settles over there, like it says, like a person's beauty and adornment is to be settled in a home. For a mensch to be a mensch, the way it's supposed to be, he needs to be settled in a home. So to the world of Bria, also known the world of the throne. In other words, that it's settled, he's sitting down, he's settled in. It's the place where the Adam Elyon, supernal man of Atzilus, settles in the world of Bria. The main home of the supernal man, when it comes down into the creations, when their bittul is to godliness in such a manner that the bittul is entirely who they are, the level of bittul and metzius, not bittul ayesh, which the bittul is something superficial or on top of who they are. And then after we have the level of the home, which is the world of Bria, or the basar echalecha, afterwards we have your chamber. Shugili haneshama shalamayla meislapshas nefesh habahamis, top of the last page. It's the revelation of the neshama that's beyond being enclosed in the animal soul. Koilol gam hapnimius, the dargis haneshamas hamulbesh nefesh habahamis, including also the inner level of the level of the neshama that's enclosed in nefesh habahamis. What it really is deep down, that is the level of heichel. Shabitl shalah, bitl b'metzias kabitl atzilus. The true essence, the true core of the nefesh halakis is complete nullification, like the bitl of atzilus. Nikra echalecha. Why is it called echalecha? Which we're saying is a step higher than a home. A home has to do with adam. What's heichel? The Indian echalecha, mashakasav havaya beheichel kotray, havaya in his holy chamber. Has mipan of kalaris, the entire earth is silent before him. Shalagabe havaya beheichel kotray, in comparison to havaya in his holy chamber, misbatel becomes nullified. Has, that's the idea of being silent. Kol inyan hametzias, the entire idea of existence. Kol haaretz, the entire world. Va'ad shein shayach gam efsharis hametziri, is still, it's not even possible to be the possibility of existence. Like we said, the difference between Atzilus and Bria is that Bria is efsharis hametzias, the possibility for existence, and Atzilus is afisas hametzias, the negation of metzias. That is the idea of heichel. Heichel is avaya beheichel kotrei has, total silence, complete negation of the existence. So now in Zayin, he's going to connect us with the bris milah. That's why it says before bris milah we say this pasuk. These four worlds, even the world of Atzilus, which is Afisas HaMetzias, total Bittul B'Metzias, these are still part of the chain order of the center of the worlds. The Bris Milah is higher than the chain descent of the worlds. Like Chazal say, on the pasuk, Lamnatzeach al Hashminis, what does it mean that for the choir master for the eighth? What eighth is it referring to? So Chazal say this is a song for the bris milah that was given on the eighth. What's the significance? Why do you make a song about the bris milah giving on the eighth? And if it was given on the seventh, it's not something to be sung about. So he says in Mavur the Torah, different mask Lamnatzeach al Hashminis, and it's explained look at the Torah. By this Maimer titled Lametzeach Lashmin is the reason why David's song was for the bris milah that was given on the eighth is because the significance of eight is higher than everything. The eighth level is the level of Adam Kadmon that's higher than the world of Atzilus. The Rebbe says that seemingly we could add The Mila Ilamayla Loidak Medal the Ilmus Mila is not just higher than the four worlds of Atzilus Bri Yitzir Asiyah. Elagam Medal the Isis the Shem Havaya Loshem Mahav. It's also higher than the four letters of Shem Yudke Vavke. Yudke Vavke is from the word Mahava, bring into being. Shem Mahem Misavim Dal the Ilmus, that from the four letters of Shem Yudke Vavke come into being the four worlds. So it's not just that Mila, which is given on the 8th, is higher than the four worlds. It's even higher than Shem Havai that brings the four worlds into being. That the pasuk that says, "Who will go up to us to heaven?" Shehu Rasha Tevis Mila. It is the first letters of the word Mila, but V'Soifei Tevis Havaya, the last letters of this sentence, Mi Yalon Hashemayma, is Yud Kei Vav Kei. So the very fact that in this pasuk Mila is the Rosh Tevis and Yud Kei Vav Kei is the Soifei Tevis, that shows that Mila is the head. It's higher than the end of the words, which are Yud Kei Vav Kei. The Zesha Mila Rosh Tevis Vavaya Soifei Tevis. The fact that Mila is the first letters of the word, and Havai is the end of the letters of the word. Well, if Mila Lamayla Mi Havai, it's because Mila is higher than the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. So if so, why do we bring in this whole thing? The whole mimer is about Chatzerecha, Besecha, Chelecha. It's all talking about Asi, Yitzir, Bria, and Atzilus. We're talking about higher than all of this. But so that you be able to draw down the level. And the revelation that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlus is through Mila, which is through Mila, Tzarech Liyas Tchila, Hashleimus Ishtalshlus. There first has to be the perfection of Seder Ishtalshlus. There's an interesting lashon Chazal that say, why is a baby circumcised? Why does he go through a bris on the 8th day? So that he should go through at least one Shabbos. What's the significance of it? The Shabbos hu hashleimus d'ishtalshlus. Shabbos is Seder Ishtalshlus, the number 7, the way it's complete and perfected. One needs to go beyond that. So in other words, first they need to have Seder Ishtalshlus to be able to reach beyond Vaidei Zeh. And only after you have the Shabbos, only after you have the Shleimus of Seder Ishtalshlus, one can reach the revelation that's beyond Seder Ishtalshlus, the Bris Milah is on the 8th day. Shleimer, we could say, the Zel Mashakosov is Halk Lefonai Vayet Tomim. It says, go before me and be complete. Shebetchila tzarech liyis v'heyei. V'heyei is Isis Havaya, the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Once you have the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, you've gone through Seder Ishtalshlus, you've gone through Chatzerecha, Eichelecha, Beisecha. V'heyei zeboy macharkach lebchinas tamim. Afterwards we come to the level where Avraham Avinu was called complete. When was he called complete? Only after the bris. Hagilu shaydem Mila, the revelation through the bris Mila. V'lachein oimrim koyim ha-bris ha-pasuk Ashri Tibchar v'Tevchar v'yishni chatzerecha nisbar tu b'tzacha d'chechalecha v'gam b'layla shalifnei ha-bris. We don't only say it before the bris, at the actual bris, but we also say it in the night, the Vachnacht. If you remember correctly, this mimer was said at a Vachnacht, the night before the bris. She'azu as cholos ha'achana l'bris, that the Vachnacht, the night before the bris, the time when it's the beginning of the preparation for the bris. Noegim lilmoid mimer hazoyer al pasuk zeh. The custom is to recite and to learn the part of the zoyer that's on this pasuk. Why do we say it the night before? Why do we say it in preparation for the bris? Avoid the bedal dan yom shur pasuk zeh, because they avoid in the 4 matters of this pasuk. Shem keneg dal da oilmus bedal da shem avaya, that they correspond to the 4 worlds. And they correspond to the 4 letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yachon v'akli lagilu shalamaylam eshtalshlus is the preparation and the vessel for the revelation that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlus. By the way, he says an interesting point in Ha'ara 41. It says Betuv Beisecha and Kedosh Hechelecha. So he says, since the Beisecha is talking about the bittul of Bria, so the bittul of Bria is an intellectual thing. So you recognize and you feel and you appreciate that godliness is good. That's why it says Betuv Beisecha. And the bittul of Atzilus, it has to do with godliness that's totally beyond my intellectual comprehension. So therefore we say Kedoshei Chalachos from the word that's Kadosh and Muvdal, it's something holy and completely separated.